Naval, what about you? Just in terms of parenting style.
We have a no control philosophy in the house with each other, my wife and I. We've had that for a long time. She can't even schedule me. I can't schedule her. We don't commit each other. We don't, have big expectations. She can't make me go to like her parents' birthday. I can't like make her go to a business dinner. We're really non-controlling people to begin with of each other. So it's pretty easy to align on not controlling the kids. But that also means that if she wants to control the kids, she can.
Mm.
And if I want to control the kids, I can. I don't tell her don't control the kids. Right. So we actually have very different styles. And it does cause a problem when like kid wants screen time. They'll go and negotiate with each party. And whoever's more lenient will give them the screen time or the ice cream. So basically, I get to be the good cop. But we are talking it through. I think especially the book, Erin's book, she has a copy, I have a copy, I've read it, she's reading it. Both of us find ourselves nodding more than saying no. And I think we're going to be relaxing more rules and see how it goes. There is a hump. There's going to be that hump of like the 1 week of just eating chocolate and playing video games. So maybe we go through them one at a time and see how much.
Maybe you'll just end up getting diabetes before your kids do.
Yes. But there's a couple of trend lines. As a parent, one of the things you realize is your ability to, even if you are fully into the rule system, your ability to enforce rules breaks down over time. It's just normal. The kids find gaps, they exploit the gaps, they get older, and, our oldest is already hitting the age where I couldn't stop him if I wanted to. I hope he doesn't see this episode, by the way, because that's like instant jailbreak, right?
It's 2 hours in. I think he won't make it this far, is my guess.
Yeah, he's gone through a growth spurt. He's quite large now. He could probably overpower me shortly. So, we're already getting at the point where like, what rules am I exactly going to enforce? And how on earth am I going to enforce these rules that you speak of? And then, the next one down just wants to copy him. And the next one down wants to copy that one. So there's a jailbreak already happening, a slow motion jailbreak. So I'd rather, kind of open the door and let them out and get some credit rather than, there was a revolt and they escaped and now they view me as that forever. There's a feeling that I sometimes get, which I don't know if the rest of you have this, but when you're around family sometimes, you feel a certain weight, like you can't be yourself, right? And so there are times when like there's family around, you don't want them around because you feel a certain pressure. And it's just like if your friend was sitting there doing the exact same thing, it wouldn't bother you. But because there's a family member sitting there and doing that thing, it bothers you. And it's like, why is that? This person's just sitting there reading the book. Why does it bother me that this person's sitting there reading the book? And it's because going back to the animal conditioning part, the one thing I did get conditioned on was over 10, 15, 20 years, having this person always telling me what to do, right? Saying, don't do this, do that. And it was always well-meaning and it was always with love, but they were always watching me.
I see. So for clarity, when you say family, you mean like your parents, not your kids.
Yeah, like my mom or even my brother, who I love to death, or my aunt, if they're sitting there, I'm just used to having gone through a combination of conflict and control and negotiation with them constantly, that I just feel like I'm being watched. And I think other people have this feeling too. And I don't want my kids to have that feeling. When I'm in the room with them, I don't want them to have the feeling that, oh, I might do something that he's not going to approve of. And so therefore, he will either say something or even just feel something disapproving. And therefore, I feel self-conscious, right? So I want to have as little of that feeling as possible in my life and my kids' lives.
Exactly.
Which is why I don't want to bust them. I don't want to be giving them rules. I don't want to be their enforcer. I don't want to be their warden. Being their enforcer and warden makes me worse off, makes them worse off, and it completely destroys the relationship. So I have to figure out how to unwind that. Same time, I do have to be a parent. They can't run in the street. They got to do their math. Sorry, Aaron. Maybe we'll get through that. But, I do have to arm them for what's going to happen in life. Judith Harris was this woman. She did like this famous meta study, maybe wrote a book on child raising. And what she basically concluded was it's mostly genetics. It's mostly nature. Sorry. And then the remaining part that's nurture is from their peers. They're raised by their peers. And it's not really raised by their parents, because they're trying to adapt to the world they're going to live in, not the world that you lived in. And so my conclusion from that was, instead of trying to control your children, you can be one step removed and control their environment. And the way you do that is, the most important decision parents make for their kids is where they live. What neighborhood are we living in? What friends are they around? What school are they going to? That's why parents are so obsessive about choosing the school, because you're outsourcing your child raising for half the time. This kid is going to be raised in the school by a collection of peers and possibly teachers out of your control. So you put a lot of effort into the school. So the same way, you curate their environment. Like, is the house look more like a library, or does it look like more like a sports stadium? Is it messy? Is it clean? So you curate the environment, you curate the expectations, you curate the opportunities, you curate the peer set, you curate the location. And the nicer way to look at that is not curate by excluding, but opportunistic by including. You give them opportunities and new things to hook onto and obsessions. So that's the way I prefer to do it. And then, of course, always lead by example, right? If they see how I'm treating my mother, hopefully they'll treat me that way when they're older. When they see like how I treat, the waiter at the restaurant, hopefully they'll key off of that. That's normal behavior. If they see if I'm littering or jaywalking or not littering or not jaywalking, they're going to cue off of that. Kids are very smart. They know everything you're doing. Kids are really good at noticing hypocrisy in parents. So I'll be saying no screen time while I'm going through my phone, right? What is that? I thought about this one. I was like, maybe we limit screen time for everybody. Like, we literally just say, like, unless you're learning or studying or whatever, like, nobody gets screen time until a certain amount of time. But if I impose my own rules on myself, no screen time till math and reading's done, and no screen time till 6 p.m., that's miserable. Why am I doing it to them? This is a very hard problem. I'm not saying I have a solution. There's a lot of hypocrisy.